Hey, I'm WVTM 13 Chief Meteorologist Jason Simpson, and looks like we've got some changes in the weather coming over not just Alabama, but most of the Southeast in the next few days. But I wanted to get started tonight with a question, and this was one that was posted on the YouTube video from yesterday talking about the potential for some big-time heat in coming days. Had a high forecast at 94 next Monday. And a gentleman asked, well, why do you say this and nobody else says it? Well, let's talk about that. I think it's a legitimate question. If you ever have a question like that, I'm more than happy to answer those kinds of things. First of all, let's go to our 7-day forecast as we have it today. So we're looking at a good chance of rain and storms over the next 2 days, but rain chances are decreasing going forward. And there's a good reason for that, because this thing called a big ridge begins developing on Saturday. And the ridge being out here over Texas puts Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee on the, what we'll call the edge of that area of protection. So yes, we are getting hotter air. And there's also this disturbance up to the north that I've indicated by that dashed line. So watch this. As we move forward through time, that dashed line gets a little bit closer to us on Monday. But the question is, what time does it get here? Because if it gets here early in the morning, then absolutely we have a high that's way below 90 degrees. And if it doesn't get here at all, we could go as high as 95. But what you see here on the right-hand side of the screen is, a cherry-picked forecast sounding for the Birmingham area at around midday to early afternoon on Monday of next week. And if you look carefully, you can see there's a lot of CAPE there. Over 3,000, almost 4,000 joules. It's based on the GFS model, so it's not going to be perfect, but it gives us the idea that the ridge out to the west is probably a little stronger and more influential across the south than maybe some of the forecast models and going forecast would show. So I'm sticking with my original idea here and going with potentially mid-90s toward Monday of next week. The other issue at hand is what you see right here. The 18Z, or the midday run of the GFS model guidance, wants to push us to the hundreds. I don't think we're going that high. The GFS has been doing this all summer, where out there around days 9, 10, 11, 12, it wants to just really break forth on us with some big-time heat, and it hasn't happened yet. So I think some mid-90s are reasonable, mainly because, well, that's kind of what we were dealing with about a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks ago now. Back on June 11th, we had a potent line of thunderstorms roll through here that caused a lot of wind damage. Ahead of it, it was 94 degrees, and the pattern was very, very similar to what we're expecting around here going into this weekend. Here's another reason that I think we could hit mid-90s. The 5,000-foot temperature, or 850 millibar temperature, around 21 degrees C at 7 p.m. Sunday. Now, if you do a little quick math and some approximations, that's a high right around 93 to 96 degrees for the Birmingham area based on climatology. Even hotter out to the west, Little Rock, Monroe, Jackson. And if we start talking about 850 temperatures, 22, 23, which is what some of the forecast guidance has suggested toward Monday, if that big line of storms is not somewhere right in here, we are easily 93, 94 degrees next Monday. That's just how it's going to work out. Check out what's going on here on this Tuesday evening, though. We've got this big swirl over the eastern U.S., and if I back out, you can see it even better. The big swirl happening right here, that's the upper air disturbance. The ridge is out here to the west, and it hasn't built yet. So basically, the upper air pattern looks something like this. You got a ridge here. The heat, you've probably heard about that over Texas, just tremendous heat index values around Houston and Dallas and Austin, up in the 110 to 115 range. Well, with that ridge in place, there's naturally a trough on the east side of it. And that's where we are caught right now. We've got this trough with this embedded upper air low, and each time one of these little spokes of energy comes around in the next 24 hours, we're going to see widespread showers and thunderstorms develop. And that's why this is probably going to be one of the coolest first days of summer on record in the Birmingham area. Now, it won't rain all night, but I think we're going to see some scattered showers. Hit or miss downpours as early as 6 o'clock in the morning. And then some guidance here is, this is the HRR, by the way, the HRRR, really bullish on some scattered thunderstorms late morning to midday around Jefferson and Shelby counties. This is the second time that we've seen that in the model guidance today. Then you get these bands of showers like we had today up around Marshall and DeKalb and Jackson, Madison, Etowah, into Blount, Coleman, and then there's just more of it on again, off again throughout the day, and that's why it's just not really going to get all that hot on Wednesday. But it's a haves and have-not deal. Some of us are just going to get pounded with heavy rain, maybe as much as 3 inches in a community or two. I don't think that's going to be very common. Just a few spots could get that. And then in North Alabama, you look up here toward Jackson County and DeKalb County. There's Jackson, there's DeKalb, there's Cherokee. There's spots where it's raining very heavily. And then you have places like Huntsville where the model says, nope, not going to rain there. Is that absolutely how it's going to work out? No. Is it possible? Yeah, it may work out like that. And then some of the places where we had a lot of rain today, Gadsden to Alexandria and Anniston, over a ½ inch to 1 inch of rain on Monday. There may be a few spots that don't get another drop of rain out of this deal. So here's how it works. On Wednesday, by the way, the first official day of summer, the solstice is at 9:57 a.m. Central Daylight Time. There you see the sunrise, sunset times. Days are going to start getting shorter little by little over the next few weeks, but you're probably not really going to notice it. The average high tomorrow would be 89. We're forecasting 81. And if we fail to make it to 81, so if we're 80 or below, it would be one of the top 10 coolest June 21st on record in Birmingham. Thursday, high about 83 in the afternoon. Spotty storms are still possible. Friday, isolated storms around Birmingham if we get anything at all. Saturday, again, I already showed you this. That's where the ridge starts to develop and become more of a player. So we will have a hot weekend around here. Daytime high temperatures are going to climb up into the upper 80s, low 90s on Saturday. I think it's mainly in the 90s around here on Sunday and Monday. And all this around Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, the thunderstorm chances, it just depends on how the ridge sets up. If it's a little bit stronger, those thunderstorms stay up to the north, closer to Kentucky and Tennessee. If it's a little bit weaker, then our numbers here might be a bit too high. So we'll just keep an eye on it and let you know how things are going to pan out. But looking longer term, out beyond our 7-day forecast, the longer term outlook keeps it wetter and cooler farther to the east, hotter and drier farther to the west. So fewer storms, not completely dry, but fewer storms in the forecast from June 26th through June 30th. And we should be running near or a little bit above average high temperature of 90 degrees. So even though it's been relatively cool lately and relatively wet lately, we are certainly not looking to stay that way long term.